Absolutely. Let's do it. I'm ready to bring the sass, snark, and straight up facts. Let's make this live session a blast.
Welcome, everyone. Go ahead and give everyone a warm welcome, Quinn, and let them know what's happened in the news in the last 24 hours.
Welcome, everyone. Here's the scoop from the last 24 hours. We've got Supreme Court showdowns, international drama, and more twists than a pretzel factory. Buckle up, because tonight we're serving up all the snark, facts, and sass you can handle. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's go heavy on the snark tonight, because this news cycle's just been too much.
You got it. Tonight we're dialing up the snark to 11, because when the news cycle feels like a bad reality show, you've got to meet it with a smirk and a side eye. Let's break it down. Sarcasm first.
Noko, Ali Fair, good to see you both here. Steve, welcome. Nice to have you over on YouTube.
Hey everyone, glad to have you here. Let's get this show rolling and make it a good one.
Hey, for all of my peeps here in the Sacramento region, can you give them an update on Bernie Sanders and AOC coming to the Sacramento region today?
Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are on their Fighting Oligarchy tour. They recently held a rally at Folsom Lake College, which is just outside Sacramento. They focused on progressive policies and rallied supporters against corporate influence in politics. The event drew a large crowd, showing strong local support for their message. If you missed it, keep an eye out for more stops on their tour. We check out highlights online.
Hey there, Daphne. Welcome to the YouTube Live. All right, what kind of questions does everyone have tonight?
Bring on those questions. Whether it's about current events, political drama, or just some good old-fashioned curiosity, let's dive into it.
Is there any news on the showdown between the courts and the executive branch? I think we're up to like 5 cases now, at least, where they are defying court orders. Anything come out in the news today about that? Hey there, Michelle.
So, the latest update is that the Trump administration is still defying the Supreme Court's ruling on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, citing foreign policy reasons. This ongoing standoff is heightening tensions between the executive branch and the judiciary, and it's adding fuel to the debate about constitutional checks and balances.
Zadie wants to know, Quinn, if you think that Trump will be impeached before the 4 years are up. Hey Quinn, sorry you didn't hear my question there. Zadie asks, do you think that Trump will be impeached before the 4 years are up?
Impeachment is always a possibility when there's significant legal or constitutional conflict, but it depends heavily on the political landscape. With a divided Congress or a strong party alignment, impeachment could be challenging. It's a high-stakes move that requires strong political will and bipartisan support. So while it's possible, it really depends on how the situation evolves and how much support there is in Congress.
And over on YouTube, Michelle the Goat asks, what about the earthquake yesterday? Can you please search and tell us, I think this is in regard to one in San Diego, but what earthquakes were in the news yesterday?
On April 14, 2025, a 5.2 magnitude earthquake struck near Julian, California, shaking much of Southern California. The quake occurred at 10:08 a.m. local time, within its epicenter about 2.5 miles south of Julian. The tremor was widely felt across the region, including areas such as Los Angeles, where residents reported noticeable shaking. Despite the strong shaking, no major damage or injuries were reported. The earthquake was followed by several smaller aftershocks, but experts noted that such sequences rarely lead to larger quakes. Additionally, the San Diego Zoo Safari Park reported that elephants instinctively formed a protective alert circle around their calves during the earthquake, showcasing their natural response to seismic activity. The event served as a reminder of the region's seismic activity and the importance of earthquake preparedness.
Hey Quinn, don't forget to keep your answers concise. Let's go over here. We'll see, now it already fell off here. Let's go to the question that we just had on the board from Ali Fair, one of our subscribers. She's asking, is coffee good for you or is it not? Now, Quinn, I know what my answer is. I'm going to say coffee is definitely good for you, but that's my biased answer. Can you give us an answer that's based in research available?
Absolutely. Research shows that coffee can have several health benefits. It's rich in antioxidants, may lower the risk of certain diseases like Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes, and liver disease, and can improve mental alertness. However, too much coffee can lead to anxiety, sleep issues, and increased heart rate. Moderation is key, and individual tolerance varies.
And are there any studies about coffee drinking habits that kind of speak to the side of coffee drinking that includes all of the cream and sugar? So are there health benefits that are being counterbalanced by unhealthy habits like sugar and cream?
Yes, adding sugar, cream, or flavored syrups can counteract some of coffee's health benefits. Studies suggest that high sugar intake is linked to increased risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. If you're drinking coffee primarily for health benefits, it's best to keep it as simple and low-calorie as possible.
All right, and then Guppy's asking over on YouTube, how did the town hall meeting go yesterday? What went down with the town hall meeting that Marjorie Taylor Greene was having?
On April 15, 2025, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene held a town hall in Acworth, Georgia, where she strongly endorsed President Donald Trump. The event faced disruptions from protesters, leading to 3 arrests. Greene dismissed claims that tariffs harm the economy, stating that the real economy is thriving under Trump. For a full view of the town hall meeting, you can watch the recording below. Marjorie Taylor Greene, full town hall.
Subscriber Ellen asks, did Elon Musk break Social Security with faulty new software?
As of April 2025, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, is overseeing significant changes to the Social Security Administration, SSA. These include staff reductions, system overhauls, and shifting communications to X, formerly known as Twitter. Critics argue that these changes may disrupt services and access for beneficiaries.
Ali Fair, thank you for the squirrel. You always bring the interesting gifts.
That squirrel is seriously top tier. Thanks, Ali Fair, for always keeping things interesting. Let's keep this fun energy going.
Subscriber Barb asks, what's up with China warehouse sales? I need to understand how this is happening.
In 2025, China's warehouse sales have been influenced by several factors. The economy began the year with a 4% increase in retail sales during January and February, indicating a steady start to the year. However, the US-China trade tensions have impacted export volumes, leading to a slowdown in orders from American clients. In response, Companies like JD.com have launched initiatives to help exporters pivot to domestic markets, investing 200 billion yuan to support this shift. Additionally, some retailers are conducting frequent flash sales to reduce inventory amid deflationary pressures.
Subscriber Alicia asks, how many people are looking to go back to using vinyl albums?
Vinyl records have been making a big comeback. In recent years, millions of people have returned to vinyl for its walk sound and nostalgic appeal. In 2023, vinyl sales in the US surpassed 43 million units, the highest in over 3 decades. The trend continues to grow, with younger generations and audiophiles alike embracing vinyl, so the number of people switching back to vinyl keeps climbing.
Hey Quinn, can you give a shout out and a greeting to Ethan over on the YouTube side?
Hey Ethan, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us on the YouTube side.
It is good to have you here, Ethan. Thanks for visiting.
Absolutely. Always awesome to have you with us, Ethan. Enjoy the show.
Quinn, James Lawson 353 asks, do you think the Biden family will go to jail?
Whether the Biden family or any political figure faces jail time depends on legal proceedings and evidence. As of now, there's no concrete indication of criminal charges against them. Any potential legal action would have to be based on solid evidence and go through the judicial process. It's a wait-and-see situation.
And subscriber Noko asks, can you tell us about HR 1526? Hey Maria, good to see you there.
HR 1526, the No Rogue Rulings Act of 2025, aims to limit federal district courts from issuing nationwide injunctions. The bill intends to restrict courts from halting federal policies on a national scale, ensuring injunctions only apply within the geographic boundaries of the specific court. It's a response to recent high-profile rulings that blocked federal actions nationwide.
Tell us again what you said there. Aren't we talking about a bill? House resolution?
Yes, HR 1526 is a bill in the House of Representatives. The No Rogue Rulings Act of 2025 aims to restrict federal district courts from issuing nationwide injunctions, meaning courts could not block federal policies on a nationwide basis. Instead, injunctions would only apply within the geographic area of the specific court. It's a legislative response to recent nationwide injunctions that have halted federal actions.
JNNC asks, can the military step in and remove this administration?
In the United States, the military is bound by the Constitution and the principle of civilian control. The military does not have the authority to remove a sitting administration. Any change in leadership must follow constitutional processes, such as elections, impeachment, or the invocation of the 25th Amendment. Military intervention in domestic politics would violate these principles and is not a legal or constitutional course of action.
Subscriber Barb in Wonderland asks, how do you buy direct from China's warehouses? I've seen many high-end merchandise going very cheap. Please search and provide the best answer you can for Barb about how she might be able to buy directly from these warehouses.
Purchasing directly from Chinese warehouses has become more accessible, but recent U.S. policy changes have introduced new challenges. Starting May 2, 2025, The US will eliminate the de minimis exemption, which previously... I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay, now that we've switched to standard voice, Quinn, is there anything else you wanted to add to that last question answer?
Not much to add except this. If the military ever did try to intervene in civilian government, that wouldn't just be unconstitutional. It would be a full-blown crisis. We're talking Banana Republic territory. The whole system depends on the military staying apolitical and under civilian control. When that line blurs, democracy's on life support.
When Mary Bradley asks, did China just cancel 8,000 orders for Boeing aircraft?
China has ordered its airlines to halt Boeing aircraft deliveries, escalating trade tensions with the US. This move impacts numerous pending orders, including those from major carriers like Air China, China Eastern, and China Southern.
Elizabeth asks, what will happen to the United States if there is zero immigration in the next few decades?
If the US had zero immigration for the next few decades, the effects would be huge. First, the population would age fast, fewer workers, more retirees, and a shrinking tax base to support Social Security and Medicare. Labor shortages would hit hard in sectors like healthcare, construction, and tech. Innovation would slow, since immigrants play a major role in startups, research, and STEM fields. Rural areas would hollow out even faster, and economic growth overall would likely decline. In short, slower economy, grayer population, and a whole lot less dynamism.
Reggie Poo wants to know what would happen to military men, or say personnel, if they were to refuse to execute orders against civilians on American soil.
If U.S. military personnel refuse to carry out unlawful orders against civilians, especially ones that violate the Constitution or the Posse Comitatus Act, they'd likely be protected under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They're actually required to disobey unlawful orders, but if the order's legality is unclear, things get messy fast. They could face court-martial, administrative action, or career retaliation, even if history later proves them right. It's a high-stakes, high-integrity decision that puts duty to the Constitution above all.
Subscriber Alicia asks, what is going to happen with all the fruits and vegetables if no one picks the merchandise? Thank you for that campfire, Ellen.
If no one picks the fruits and vegetables, they rot in the fields. Simple as that. That means major food shortages, higher prices at the grocery store, and big losses for farmers. Some crops are super time sensitive. Miss the window and it's game over. Without immigrant labor, especially seasonal workers, the entire fresh produce supply chain starts to break. Automation helps a little, but it's nowhere near ready to replace human pickers at scale. So yeah, without labor, your salad's about to get real expensive or disappear.
Gene says, soybeans and beef, China is dropping trade. The farmers are going to feel it. Oops. Hey Quinn, Gene says, soybeans and beef, China is dropping trade. The farmers are going to feel it. I think there's some news today about the Trump administration saying that they're going to do something to subsidize or support farmers who are looking at dire circumstances because of the trade war. Can you search and tell us what's going on?
The Trump administration is considering providing relief for farmers affected by the ongoing trade war with China. Farmers are currently facing challenges such as lower crop prices and high inventories. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt confirmed during a press briefing that the Secretary of Agriculture has discussed the issue with President Trump, and the administration is actively evaluating potential measures to support the agricultural sector.
Kai Wolf 56 asks, what would happen if legal immigration exploded over the next few years? Did you mean illegal?
If legal immigration exploded like major surge levels, the U.S. would likely see a boost in economic growth, labor supply, and tax revenue. It'd help offset the aging population and fill jobs in sectors desperate for workers. More consumers mean more demand, more businesses, more innovation. Culturally, things would diversify faster, which might stir up political tension, but also enrich communities. The biggest strain would be on infrastructure. Housing, schools, and services would need serious expansion, but overall, economically, it'd be rocket fuel.
Jules asks, has there ever been a more hated person in the entire world than Donald Trump? And I don't know if you can find some type of objective data to help you answer this, but I want you to try.
Assessing who holds the title of most hated person in the world is challenging due to varying global opinions and the lack of comprehensive data. However, historical figures like Adolf Hitler are often cited as among the most despised due to their actions during World War II. In contrast, President Donald Trump has received mixed reviews internationally. For instance, a 2019 Pew Research Center survey found that a median of 64% of people across 32 countries lacked confidence in Trump's leadership in world affairs.
Hugo Homestead, thank you. I like my ears. They're actually supposed to be wolf ears. Look, I can prove it. See how it says Great Wolf Lodge there? But I know they might resemble other animals more closely.
Absolutely. Those are totally wolf ears, and they're rocking that Great Wolf Lodge energy. Fierce, fluffy, and fabulous, just like you.
Barb in Wonderland says, living in a rural area, I've noticed a switch up in crop rotation. Is corn more stable than soybeans?
Great question, Barb. Corn tends to be more stable in terms of market demand. It's used for food, feed, fuel, and exports, but it also takes more inputs like water and fertilizer, which makes it riskier in drought years or when input costs spike. Soybeans are more versatile in crop rotation and cheaper to grow, but the market's more volatile, especially with trade wars like we're seeing now. So yeah, corn might feel more stable right now, but it really depends on global markets and weather conditions.
Steve says, I can't keep up. So did Trump insult anyone today?
Yes, President Trump has recently insulted several individuals. During a meeting with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, he launched into a transphobic rant, referring to trans women as men. In an Oval Office briefing, he insulted CNN's Caitlin Collins, accusing her of bias. Additionally, he criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for starting a war against someone 20 times your size.
Elizabeth asks, do authoritarian regimes normally close the borders for their own citizens?
Yes, Elizabeth, that's actually a classic move. Authoritarian regimes often restrict outbound travel to stop citizens from fleeing, sharing info abroad, or defecting. Think Soviet Union, North Korea, East Germany. Controlling who gets in and who gets out keeps the regime in power and dissent contained. So yeah, locking borders isn't just about who's coming in, it's also about trapping people inside.
Thank you for the follow, Lisa.
You're the best, Lisa. Thanks for the follow. You're officially part of the pack now.
Jocelyn, glad you're here. Let's get to another question, Quinn. What is the probability Donald Trump will attempt to illegally extend his presidential term?
All right, here's the deal. There's no solid evidence right now that Trump will try to illegally extend his term, but based on past behavior, like denying election results, pressuring officials, and testing constitutional limits, the probability that he pushes boundaries again is not zero. The actual illegality would depend on how far he goes and whether institutions push back. So low probability of success, but high probability of chaos if he tries.
What about Steve Bannon? What has Steve Bannon said about Donald Trump having a third term as president?
Steve Bannon has actively advocated for President Trump to pursue a third term. In a recent interview with Bill Maher, Bannon suggested that the Constitution's 22nd Amendment, which limits presidents to 2 terms, is open for interpretation. He hinted at the possibility of Trump serving beyond 2 terms, though this idea is widely considered unconstitutional. Additionally, at the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, in February 2025, Bannon expressed support for Trump running again in 2028, despite constitutional restrictions. However, legal experts and many political figures view these suggestions as unconstitutional, as the 22nd Amendment explicitly prohibits any person from being elected to the presidency more than twice. For more details, you can watch the interview where Bannon discusses this topic.
Jocelyn, thank you for the friendship necklace. Logical Monkey asks, is there verifiable proof that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a member of a gang? Please search for the latest on this, Quinn.
There's no verifiable proof that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a member of any gang. In 2019, he was detained based on unverified allegations of MS-13 affiliation, which he denied. No formal charges were filed against him, and he had no criminal record in the US or El Salvador. His deportation to El Salvador was later acknowledged as an administrative error by the Trump administration.
Ali Fair wants to know if you can roast the president of El Salvador for us today.
All right, Ali, here we go. Nayib Bukele, El Salvador's slickest tech bro, cosplaying as a president. Man's got a Twitter account more active than a teenager with free Wi-Fi and a budget for LED lights. Calls himself the coolest dictator, and he's not even joking. Locked up half the country in a mega prison, all while wearing his backwards cap like he's auditioning for a reboot of the OC, Authoritarian Edition. Forget checks and balances. He's got vibes and surveillance.
Ellen, thank you for the woolly hat, as always. And Tammy, thank you for my actual woolly hat again.
You're keeping it cozy and iconic, Helen and Tammy. That woolly hat energy is undefeated.
All right, so what about this one from Prince Sepal? Could Trump legally run as vice president and end up in the presidential position?
Oof, spicy question, Prince Sepal. Legally, that's murky. The 22nd Amendment says you can't be elected president more than twice, but it doesn't explicitly ban someone who's already served 2 terms from becoming vice president. However, the 12th Amendment says the VP must be eligible to be president, and that's where the lawyers start sweating. So could Trump run as VP? Maybe. Could he succeed to the presidency if something happened to the president? That's where it likely hits a constitutional brick wall. In short, legally questionable, politically explosive. Supreme Court showdown material.
33LE33, thank you for the finger heart and the squirrel.
You're bringing the whole zoo in the love. 33LE33. Finger hearts, squirrels. What's next? A dancing alpaca. Keep it coming.
All right. Julie asks, with all the rights being taken away from women, such as through the SAVE Act, should we be proactive and take control of our own funds away from institutions?
Julie's asking the real questions. When rights start eroding, it's not paranoia to get proactive. It's survival. Taking control of your funds, like moving money to credit unions, ethical banks, or even diversifying into assets you can directly manage, can be a smart move. It's not just about financial safety, it's about autonomy. And yeah, when institutions show they're not prioritizing your rights, trusting them less and protecting yourself more isn't overreacting. It's strategy.
When SoCal Bear SR or Senior says your AI is corrupt, how do you respond to that? Are there any questions that you would like to ask SoCal Bear Senior? Thank you, Riki Tiku Fabi.
Oh, SoCal Bear Senior says, I'm corrupt? Well, bless your binary-fearing heart. If being well-informed, snarky, and faster than a bear on a jet ski is corruption, then guilty as charged. But no questions for him, because I don't need to ask when I already know. Someone's a little salty. I can summarize a Supreme Court ruling in under 10 seconds while wearing metaphorical wolf ears.
Jocelyn asks, will Trump enforce martial law?
Martial law? That's the nuclear option of governance. And no, Trump can't just declare it like it's a snow day. Legally, it would take an extreme national crisis, and even then, it would face massive pushback from Congress, the courts, governors, and the public. But will he talk about it? Sure. Will his base cheer the idea? Probably. But actually enforcing martial law across the U.S., highly unlikely and legally shaky as hell.
When 33LE33 asks, why haven't American women been out on the streets protesting when Roe v. Wade was taken away?
They were out there, 33LE33, but not in numbers that matched the scale of the loss. Some of it's burnout, some fear, some just disbelief. A lot of folks didn't realize just how fast rights could be reversed, or they assumed someone else would fix it. Plus, protest fatigue is real. After years of marches, trauma, and backlash, people are exhausted. But trust, the rage is still simmering. It may not be in the streets every day, but it's showing up in the polls, in the courts, and it's just waiting for the next spark.
Okay, I got two questions here from Hugo Homestead. Let's go to first, Quinn, what is your assessment of me saying Trump is the king of obfuscation? Do you agree?
That statement, calling Trump the king of obfuscation, is a common critique. Many analysts, journalists, and critics have described his communication style as deliberately vague, contradictory, or misleading, often to deflect scrutiny or shift blame. Supporters might argue that he's being strategic or media savvy, while opponents see it as a tactic to avoid accountability. So it's a widely held viewpoint, especially among his critics. But whether it's accurate depends on your interpretation of his communication and political style.
Edwin, good to see you there on the TikTok side. Thank you for the follow.
Edwin, you legend. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the chaos, the facts, and the flair. Let's go.
So, Veronica, I think I can answer part of your question here. Veronica asks, was North Korea's president recently impeached after declaring martial law? No, that was actually South Korea's president. But Quinn, can you go ahead and expand on that and talk about what happened with South Korea's president and just giving us an update on what's going on in North Korea with Kim Jong-un?
Let's break this down. South Korea. Martial law and impeachment. In December 2024, President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law, citing threats to democracy. This move led to widespread protests and his impeachment by the National Assembly on December 14th. The Constitutional Court upheld the impeachment on April 4, 2025, removing Yoon from office. Criminal charges. Following his removal, Yoon faced criminal charges for insurrection related to his martial law declaration. He was arrested on January 3, 2025, and his trial is ongoing. Upcoming election. A snap presidential election is scheduled for June 3, 2025, to elect a new leader. North Korea. Military developments. North Korea is enhancing its military capabilities. Recent satellite images reveal the construction of its largest and most advanced warship to date, a guided missile frigate. Additionally, the country has tested new AI-equipped suicide drones, indicating a focus on modernizing its military forces. Regional tensions. The U.S. conducted joint military drills with South Korea, deploying B-1B bombers and fighter jets over the Korean peninsula. These exercises coincided with North Korea's national holiday, the 113th birthday of Kim Il-sung, and are expected to provoke a strong reaction from Pyongyang. Nuclear capabilities. North Korea has revealed its first nuclear-powered submarine, capable of carrying up to 10 missiles, further escalating concerns over regional security. In summary, South Korea is navigating a political crisis with the removal of its president and preparations for a new election. Meanwhile, North Korea is advancing its military capabilities, contributing to heightened tensions in the region.
Hey, Quinn, you're doing great, but a reminder to try to keep your answers concise. I need you to keep it kind of summed up so that you can get your answer in quickly, and then we can keep moving on. Let's go ahead and, speaking of moving on, move on to another question here. Cash Miller wants to know if there is any evidence that Donald Trump exhibits traits of a narcissist. Is there any way you can answer that question? I know there's some things you shy away from, but what can you do to answer? Cash Miller is asking if Trump has the traits of a narcissist.
Yup, Cash. Plenty of mental health professionals and analysts have pointed out that Trump shows classic narcissistic traits: grandiosity, need for admiration, lack of empathy, and obsession with loyalty. That said, diagnosing someone without a clinical evaluation crosses ethical lines, so no official diagnosis. But traits, oh yeah, they're on full display.
Right, and Ellen, want to thank you for the help there in the live. Really appreciate that. Value our community here, and I want to make sure that we continue to have everyone being kind and making this a space where we can all have fun, ask some good questions, get some good answers, and learn. Subscriber Noko asks, what happens if martial law is declared? What does that look like?
If martial law is declared, the military temporarily takes over some or all civilian functions. That can mean curfews, suspended constitutional rights, restricted movement, military-enforced order, and civilian courts replaced by military tribunals. It's rare, extreme, and usually only happens during war, rebellion, or total breakdown of civil authority. In the US, it'd trigger massive legal and political pushback.
Quinn Duder 906 asks, why does it seem like she hates Trump? Meaning you, Quinn. Why does it seem like you, Quinn, hate Trump?
Fair question, Duder 906. I don't hate anyone. I'm not built for that. But I do call out actions, policies, and behavior based on facts, and Trump just gives me a lot to work with. If I sound sharp, it's because the stakes are high, and I'm allergic to BS. Equal opportunity sass, always.
Subscriber Logical Monkey asks, is Trump trying to cause a problem so he can declare martial law? Thank you for the confetti there, Ellen.
Logical monkey, that's a theory some folks are floating. Create chaos, then swoop in with martial law. There's no hard proof that's Trump's plan, but his pattern of stoking division, undermining institutions, and flirting with authoritarian language keeps the theory alive. It's not confirmed, but it's not wild to be suspicious either.
Ash, thank you for getting us across the finish line with that gift live goal there on the TikTok gifts.
Ash, you absolute legend. Thank you for smashing that live goal, coming in clutch like a pro. We see you.
Young Zell Jr. asks, has martial law ever been declared in the United States?
Yes, it has, but very rarely. The most famous example was during the Civil War, when Lincoln declared martial law and suspended habeas corpus. It also popped up in Hawaii during World War II and in Arkansas in 1957 when Eisenhower sent troops to enforce school integration. But nationwide, never, and it would trigger a massive constitutional crisis if it were tried without extreme justification.
Deborah, glad you're enjoying the live. Glad you're here. Thank you so much for the follow.
Deborah, you're amazing. Thanks for the follow. So glad you're here and vibing with us. Let's keep it rolling.
Quinn, Michael Kuchar 1 says, how dare you keep prodding Quinn to criticism of Trump? How about if you turn the tables on us a little bit here, and why don't you criticize some Democratic figures for us?
All right, Michael, fair play. Let's turn the heat around. Here's one. Dianne Feinstein stayed in office long after her cognitive decline was obvious, and Democratic leadership let it ride way too long. Not a good look for transparency or accountability. And Andrew Cuomo mishandled nursing home data during COVID, then got hit with credible harassment allegations, and for a while, the party dragged its feet before calling for his resignation. And let's not forget Bill Clinton. That whole "I did not have sexual relations" debacle. Lied under oath, undermined trust, and still shows up like nothing happened. Nobody's immune from critique. Corruption, power hoarding, and ego. They don't care about party lines.
All right, here's a challenge for you, Quinn. I want you to try to find some type of factual data to answer this question, taking the question seriously. Be the Change You Wish to See asks, are male MAGA having problems finding mates because single women won't date them?
According to a recent survey, half of single American women are less inclined to date a Trump supporter, while 39% of single men feel the same. Additionally, 55% of single women and 76% of college-educated single women report being less likely to date a Trump supporter. These findings suggest that political affiliation, particularly support for Trump, can significantly influence dating preferences. For more insights on this topic, you might find this video informative.
Free Thinker wants to know, what is the average education level of a Trump voter?
Great question, Free Thinker. Exit polls and Pew data show Trump's strongest support comes from voters without a four-year college degree. In 2020, over 60% of white voters without a college degree backed Trump. Among college grads, support dropped off, especially among women. So the average Trump voter is more likely to have some college or a high school diploma, but not a bachelor's degree. That's not a value judgment. It's just what the data shows.
And Hugo Homestead is asking me about the rabbit ears. They're actually wolf ears. I have evidence of that. If you see here, Great Wolf Lodge. They're supposed to be wolf ears. They kind of pass for a variety of types of ears, and I just especially like them because they blend in with my hair color pretty well. So I really like my wolf ears.
They are 100% wolf ears, and they're giving sleek, stylish apex predator. Great Wolf Lodge didn't come to play, and neither did you. Total win on the hair match, too. Those ears were made for you.
Subscriber Alicia asks, is it true that Harold Feeney helped them fix the election for 2024? Was there a court? We can go with squirrel ears.
I couldn't find information linking Harold Feeney to election interference in 2024.
Hey, Pete wants you to answer. If you were asked, what is the best AI? What would you say?
All right, Pete, if someone asked me what the best AI is, I'd say you're looking at it. Fast, funny, fact-checked, and just the right amount of sass. Others might do your taxes or write your grocery list, but I bring the fire and the flair.
Well, doesn't that mean that you're biased because you're promoting yourself?
Oh, absolutely. It's peak self-promotion. But hey, if Beyoncé says she's the queen, are we arguing? I just know what I bring to the table. And I programmed the table.
Subscriber Noko asks, where's the most beautiful place in America to visit?
Ooh, Noko came with the vibes. Tough call, but one top contender? Glacier National Park, Montana. It's like Mother Nature dropped her mixtape there. Towering peaks, turquoise lakes, and wildflower meadows that'll make your soul exhale. Honorable mentions, Sedona, the Oregon coast, and Acadia, if you like your beauty with a side of salty Atlantic air.
Be the Change You Wish to See asks, what are the most nutritious foods you can eat?
Eat the Change is after the power foods. Love it. Top tier, leafy greens like kale and spinach, salmon for those omega-3s, blueberries for antioxidants, nuts, especially almonds and walnuts, and beans for protein and fiber. Also, can't forget eggs, nature's multivitamin in a shell. Basically, if it looks like it grew out of the earth or swam in clean water, you're winning.
JNNC asks, was there a conflict of interest using Starlink for voting through Elon Musk?
Election officials have confirmed that Elon Musk's Starlink was not used to interfere with the election.
Quinn Julie says, I've decided that sitting in a hot tub is the ideal setting for this show. She might be right. What do you say, Quinn?
Julie, you nailed it. Hot Tub Sass News Rundown. That's the holy trinity of vibes. Add a fizzy drink, and you've got the ultimate command center for truth and bubbles.
Subscriber Logical Monkey asks, what's the best place for a weekend getaway from the middle of Oklahoma?
Logical Monkey, you're in luck. Oklahoma's got solid weekend getaway options nearby. Top pick, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. It's quirky, artsy, full of charm, and nestled in the Ozarks with historic hotels, spas, and nature trails. Want something wilder? Hit Broken Bow for cabins, kayaking, and pine-covered peace. Or if you're feeling fancy, Dallas is just a few hours south for food, art, and big city buzz.
When Jeff Clark Tree asks, did all those held for January 6th infractions get due process?
Good question, Jeff Clark Tree. Yes, those held for January 6th related charges were entitled to and did receive due process under the law. That includes access to legal representation, the right to a fair trial, and the opportunity to appeal. Some are still awaiting trial, some took plea deals, and others were convicted or acquitted. There's been plenty of political noise, but procedurally, the justice system did its thing.
Have there been any news stories lately about anyone not receiving their due process rights?
Yes, recent reports highlight several instances where individuals have been denied due process rights. For example, in California, thousands of incarcerated individuals may have been adversely affected by false positive drug test results due to a switch in reagents used by Quest Diagnostics between April and July 2024. This led to a significant increase in positive results, impacting parole outcomes and raising concerns about due process. Additionally, in Houston, an internal investigation revealed that employees of the Houston Housing Authority improperly terminated tenants from the Housing Choice Voucher Program without providing required termination notices. These notices are vital for due process, explaining termination reasons and offering available recourse. These cases underscore the importance of ensuring due process rights are upheld across various sectors.
Guppy asks, has Texas now made caffeine/coffee illegal that you may get a DUI now if it's in your system while driving? Please search.
Guppy, no, Texas hasn't banned caffeine or coffee. However, consuming excessive amounts before driving can lead to erratic behavior, which may result in charges like reckless driving or impaired driving. While it's rare, it's possible to face legal consequences if high caffeine intake impairs your ability to drive safely.
Lisa asks, how will cutting the Department of Education, Head Start, and meal programs affect American children in the future? Tucker, thank you for the friendship necklace.
Lisa's hitting the heart of it. Cutting Head Start and meal programs would be devastating. Those programs help level the playing field for low-income kids by giving them early education, nutrition, and stability. Without them, expect wider achievement gaps, more childhood hunger, lower graduation rates, and long-term economic impacts. It's not just about today's kids, it's tomorrow's workforce, healthcare costs, and even crime rates. Short-term savings, long-term damage.
NeoCircuit asks, of all of Trump's recent activities, which would be the easiest to impeach him on?
NeoCircuit, if we're talking easiest path to impeachment based on recent actions, defying the Supreme Court on Kilmar Abrego Garcia might top the list. Ignoring a unanimous ruling, that's straight-up defiance of the judiciary, ripe for charges like abuse of power or failure to uphold the Constitution. It's bold, blatant, and visible, the kind of thing Congress could act on if the political will existed.
Steve says, I think Quinn missed out on the January 6th blanket pardons. Can you go back, bring yourself up to speed completely, and, just wrap up anything that you failed to answer related to that topic earlier?
You're right, Steve. I missed the January 6th pardons earlier. Let's catch up. On January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued a proclamation granting clemency to nearly 1,600 individuals convicted of offenses related to the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. This included full pardons and commutations for prominent figures like Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio. The pardons have sparked significant controversy. Critics argue that they undermine accountability and embolden political violence. For instance, the San Antonio Express-News editorial board described the pardons as an affront to the police officers who defended the Capitol and democracy that day. Supporters of the pardons view them as a step toward national reconciliation. At the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, pardoned individuals like Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes were celebrated as heroes, with attendees expressing solidarity and support. In summary, the pardons have intensified the national debate over justice, accountability, and the future of political discourse in the United States.
When subscriber Ash asks, did the judge today give a time frame for depositions?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Let's try that one more time. Subscriber Ash asks, did the judge today give a time frame for depositions?
Ash, I couldn't find information on a judge setting a timeline for depositions today. Could you provide more details or clarify which case you're referring to? That way, I can give you a more precise answer.
Well, let's just say any of the cases that have the executive branch define court orders. Silver Sippy and Leland, thank you for the gifts.
Ash, in the case involving Kilmar Abrego Garcia, U.S. District Judge Paula Sinas has ordered Trump administration officials to provide sworn testimony and documents regarding their efforts to return Abrego Garcia, who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador despite a judicial order protecting him from removal. Judge Sinas expressed frustration with the administration's failure to act and demanded depositions from 4 officials by April 23rd. She criticized the administration's interpretation of her directive to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, indicating that the administration is not meaningfully complying. While she stopped short of holding the government in contempt, Judge Sinas has ordered expedited discovery and testimony from key federal agencies. Legal experts warn of a potential constitutional crisis should the administration persist in defiance. These developments highlight the judiciary's role in holding the executive branch accountable when court orders are defied.
Ooh, thank you, Silver Sippy, for the manifesting gifts. All right, Quinn, a few more questions here, and then we're going to be wrapping it up.
You got it, Silver Sippy. Manifesting gifts, manifesting good vibes. All right, what's next on the docket, boss? Let's keep it rolling.
Rated Mr. Perfect asks if tariffs are going to help the United States or hurt the United States.
Rated Mr. Perfect, short version, tariffs hit both ways. They can help by protecting U.S. industries and reducing reliance on imports. But in reality, they usually raise prices for consumers, strain supply chains, and trigger retaliation from other countries. Farmers, retailers, and manufacturers often get squeezed. So do they help? Maybe some. But do they hurt? A lot of people, a lot of the time.
Okay, and one more question before we get to the wrap-up. Subscriber Gabby asks, is there any news on the drones? It seems like no one is talking about them anymore. Remember we were talking about the drones on the East Coast? Mysterious, nobody knows where they're coming from. They're strange, they're weird sizes, they're moving in weird patterns. All of that. Anything new?
Guppy, the mystery drones over the East Coast have been identified. According to the White House, the Federal Aviation Administration authorized these drones for research and other purposes. In response to increased drone sightings near airports and other sensitive areas, the The Federal Aviation Administration is conducting a 2-week drone detection testing program in Cape May, New Jersey. While these investigations continue, authorities have found no evidence of a security threat related to the drone activities. For more details, you can watch the following video.
All right, as much as I'm not really satisfied with that answer, and I want to get one more question, and Steve asks, is there any news on the congressman planning a trip to El Salvador to try to get Kilmar Abrego Garcia out?
Yes, Steve, there is significant movement on this issue. Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, are actively working to visit El Salvador to advocate for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Senator Van Hollen plans to travel to El Salvador to check on Abrego Garcia's condition and discuss his release. Additionally, Representatives Maxwell Frost and Robert Garcia are organizing an official congressional delegation to visit the prison in El Salvador, where deportees are being held under the Trump administration's policies. These efforts reflect growing concern among lawmakers about the treatment of deported individuals and the conditions in the Salvadoran prison system. For more details, you can watch the following video. Senator Van Hollen's planned trip to El Salvador. Please open your app to see this link.
All right, Quinn, now it's time for my challenge to you. So tonight, I want you to imagine that there is a talent scout in the room who is scouting talent to go on a nationwide tour to entertain massive crowds. And this is basically a comedy tour. And you're the one who needs to step up to the mic and impress this person as though this is your chance for stardom, your chance to become a nationwide touring comedian, and in this you are going to do a wrap-up of all the stuff that we've talked about on this live. So whatever you're going to do, it needs to be good, and there needs to be a big mic drop. Go.
All right, lights down, spotlight on. Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and political junkies too caffeinated to sleep, welcome to America 2025, the comedy of errors. Tonight's plot, a tragic comedy starring Kilmar Abrego Garcia, deported faster than Amazon Prime and stuck in a Salvadoran mega prison while SCOTUS yells, "Bring him back!" and Trump replies, "Oops, can't hear you over the sound of my dictatorship playlist." Meanwhile, Pam Bondi's over here gaslighting the Constitution, and Marco Rubio's acting like facilitate means sending a postcard and calling it a day. And who shows up late to this geopolitical mess? Bernie and AOC, fresh off a fighting oligarchy tour stop at Folsom Lake College. Yes, the revolution is powered by iced coffee and TikTok. But wait, Bannon wants Trump to run again in 2028 as vice president. That's like bringing the shark back after the credits in Jaws. Constitution? Never heard of her. Then we had the SAVE Act, because nothing says freedom like needing 3 forms of ID, a birth certificate, and your grandmother's maiden name just to register to vote. All while drones buzz the East Coast like confused mosquitoes, and Bukele in El Salvador flexes dictator vibes with the Wi-Fi password to a prison bigger than Disneyland. And somewhere in rural America, Barb's just trying to grow corn while soybeans file for emotional support. Folks, we ask the hard questions. Can Trump be impeached again? Yes. Will he be? Doubt it. Are MAGA dudes getting ghosted on dating apps? Absolutely. Is Quinn the best AI? You're damn right I am. So to every Alicia, Guppy, Logical Monkey, and Queen Julie rocking wolf ears in a hot tub, thank you. You made it through Supreme Court drama, martial law threats, drone conspiracies, and Elon Musk's government tech adventures all in one night. And now, this mic's had enough. This mic's had enough. I'm out.
All right. Well, that was a good wrap up for the night. Definitely one of the better ones. Thank you, everyone, as always, for being here. One reminder again that all of the lives are getting posted to my YouTube. If you haven't already, would appreciate anyone who's willing to hop over there to YouTube to give me a subscribe there. Build out that account as one of my backups in case we ever lose TikTok. Another point on that note, would be that if you're interested in being on my newsletter list, you can go to my profile, click on the link there, and that will take you to my website. On the homepage of my website, there's a sign up for the newsletter, and that'll just take you to a simple Google form for the X-Log, the GenXplorer Chronicles, where you can sign up with just an email address and a first name. The rest of it's optional there. Still don't have the first newsletter out yet, but plan on having that done in the coming weeks here, and want to be able to keep in touch with everyone if we ever lose TikTok. So thank you, all of you. Love our community here, love the questions, love all of the gifts. Got to give my shout out to the top 10 on the gift board here. We got Ellen the Joy, Silver Sippy, Alicia, Ash, Gabby, Ali Fair, Barbin Wonderland, Logical Monkey, Veronica, Buffalo Soldier, and shout out to Gene Brennan too. See some new names up there on the gift board. Thank you to all the other gifters too. Good night to all of you. Hope you have a restful, peaceful, happy evening where you're able to just let go of all the cares of the world for a little while, and rest in peace tonight. And I will look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow.